Hello.
Good afternoon, all. Myself, Dr. Vidya. I'm from Nutan College of Physiotherapy, Sakartan Patel University. And today, I welcome our today's resource person, Dr. Mayura ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I request ये नाम से- Sapna Rawal, please welcome, ma'am.
Hello, very good afternoon to one and all. Myself, Sapna Rawal, final year BPT from Nutan College of Physiotherapy. It's my pleasure to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Mayura Kudwa ma'am. She is certified sloth therapist from ISSD, Germany. Now we are going to get Dr. Mayura Kudwa ma'am to enrich us with her lecture on early detection and correction of scoliosis. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, just a moment. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a moment.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to present a screen. Are you able to see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, once again. So I am Mayura Kudwa, yes, physiotherapist specializing in spinal deformities, especially scoliosis. I'm very thankful to Nutan College of Physiotherapy, Sankalchan Patel University, for giving this opportunity to present. It is indeed a pleasure to present today with you some of the knowledge that I have gained about scoliosis, and that too in June, June being the Scoliosis Awareness Month worldwide. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just a moment. Yeah. So, yeah, it has been a constant effort from my side to create awareness about this condition. Having seen what a child and the parents go through when they get the diagnosis of scoliosis, they always wish they had known earlier, got it much earlier, so they could try something to prevent it. Yeah, so why would you want to work on scoliosis? What is scoliosis? Scoliosis means bent or curved in Greek language. Scolios means, okay, scoliosis is a three-dimensional deformity of the spine. So it's not just a lateral deviation as we normally discuss. So a spine is, when seen from the back, is aligned. The neck and the pelvis here is aligned. I think we have a range of students here from first year onwards. So there's a lateral deviation of the spine. There's a slight, what do you say, a rotation, and eventually a whole trunk is involved here. And 80% of people with scoliosis get this for reasons unknown, or it is idiopathic. So when it is unattended, it may lead to a big curve in the spine and may eventually need fusion of the whole spine by surgery. But if it is detected early and during the growth spurt age, it can be handled well with physiotherapy, scoliosis specific exercises, and bracing until the growth phase ends. Okay. So this is a normal scene. What happens? I just want to tell you what how it is detected, or what is the thing that they go through. So normally around 13-14-year-old or 12-year-old child, they find some asymmetries in their body, either a raised shoulder or a prominent scapula around that region. And then they if they find it, then they go to a physician or an orthopedic, or perhaps they will be referred to a spine surgeon who will ask them to get a full spine X-ray. And you can see in the first picture here that the spine is slightly deviated from the midline. Okay, so that is when if they are caught earlier and in the early days. And what happens here is, in the present scenario, the doctors, they ask them to wait and watch for a period of time till their growth spurt ends, or wait and watch. And if it worsens, they show them a picture like this, and if it worsens, then it may worsen like this. And in any case, if that happens, that they have a solution by fusion of the spine, like at 12 levels, 13 levels, having 22 screws in their spine. And this kind of an explanation is given, and they're normally told to just wait and watch. So no physiotherapy, or this is what is normally happening in our country at the moment. Very few places they're being referred to, and because we are not actually focusing on this and working on this like in most developed countries. So what happens? The parents, they go home and they're worried, and as usual, they are, okay, just a moment. I think, is my voice okay now? Is the voice good? Are you able to hear? Okay, so they go back, I'm sorry. So they are worried, they go to the internet, and the doctor has only asked to wait, and there is no other solution. Maybe you can do some yoga or swimming is what they say, and physiotherapy is not really going to help, or this is what I come across with many people. And or bracing, when they ask, they say that it may help or it may not help. Why do you want to put them through that? But then the parents still go through a lot of, they have a lot of questions like, would this help? Would that help? Can they continue dancing? Will a brace help? And so many more things. So are you able to see the presentation? Are you able to see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a moment. I think. Okay. Are you, is it visible now? All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, so just a moment. Okay. Hello. Yeah. So are you able to see the slides?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
It's visible? Okay. So yeah. So what happens? They come across many pictures like these on the internet, like yeah. So somebody who has done exercises and has recovered so much better, much more better. Are you able to see the difference here? And one moment. Okay, so results like these, where after bracing, curve of 30 degrees has come down to 12, And whereas if you had waited, it might have, progressed and ended up in surgery. So what our goal is to, catch them really young when they are very mild, and when they're really very mild, and stop them from progressing, or try to stop them. It's a nature, it is the nature of the curve to progress, but we can try and stop it from progression. We can try to get as much correction when they are at the tender age, unlike here where you can see how much it has progressed. Yeah. So yeah, at what we do at here is try to detect early, try to catch them young, try to correct mild curves, try to stop moderate curves from progression, and also severe curves. We try to get as much posture correction as possible. So why are we not detecting it? Because the adolescents at that age, they develop the asymmetries, but they hardly have any pain, or they do not have any functional abnormalities as such, or any impairments. So they don't even know that they are going into scoliosis. And they're about 8 to 9 years at the growth spurt age, and about 8 to 9, and they are quite independent. They bathe themselves, they clothe themselves. The parents are hardly seeing them anymore on their bare bodies, or even our clothing, like in our country. So you can see here how at a beach in a Western country or in our country, you can see how the difference is. So we hardly get to see them after a certain age. And in our schools, we are not doing the spine check. Very few, I guess, but hardly. And to catch a curve very young like this. There is a disturbance. I think all okay? Yeah. So to catch a curve really young like this, you have to check them on their bare body. It is not visible through the clothes. Okay. So what is scoliosis? So scoliosis is three-dimensional. Hello. Yeah, three-dimensional deviation in the spine, eventually of the whole trunk. Okay, so the Scoliosis Research Society has defined it as, if the deviation exceeds a curb angle of 10 degrees, then it is called scoliosis. Then why we call it three-dimensional if it is just the lateral deviation? No, when you bend forward, you also see, when you ask the child to bend forward, you also might see a small hump on the a small mountain-like thing on the upper back or in the lower back, depending on the location of the curve. If it is thoracic in the upper back, if it is lumbar in the lower back, if it is double curve in maybe on both sides. So that is, again, that indicates the rotation of the spine, and so which is measured with a scoliometer, or these days there are some apps on the phones too to measure this, but not as accurate, but nevertheless you can measure. So angle of trunk rotation it is called as, and if that exceeds 5 degrees and if the curb angle is exceeding 10 degrees, then you call it scoliosis. So, and which is the third dimension, that is you're in sagittal plane, that is the kyphosis and the lordosis that we normally have, that is a little bit reduced in the people with scoliosis. So the kyphosis is reduced and lordosis also, so leading to a flat back. Okay, coming to the types of scoliosis, it may be congenital, it may be neuromuscular, syndromic, mechanical, or idiopathic, mechanical like in a leg length discrepancy, congenital with bony deformities with by birth, neuromuscular due to other, and syndromic like Marfan syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. But the proportion is 80 to 20%. That is 80% of scoliosis is idiopathic. It's not known why. And 20% are due to the other conditions. Coming to the classification, they are based in different ways, like by age of diagnosis, infantile, juvenile, adolescent, adult, based on the COB degrees. You can call it low to moderate, moderate to severe, or depending on where it is, like cervical, cervicothoracic, thoracolumbar, etc. So now, who will get it? And why do we need to check it? When to check it? And what can we do about it? Yeah. Who will get it? Normally, you see it occurring around the growth spurt age. Okay, so like in the juvenile, 5 to 8 years, and again 10 to 14 years when they get the growth spurt age. So when they get the height increases, or at that growth spurt age is when they one moment. Yeah. I think there's a. Yes, Subhash, good afternoon. Anything you have to say? Okay. No. I think there's a. Okay. Please let me know if there's anything. Any issue?
No, ma'am, there is no issue.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. And then, yeah, so at the growth spurt age, so around the TANUS stage 2 of growth, that is TANUS stage 2 in the kids. And so at the growth spurt age is when it is worsened or it exaggerates. Okay, that is when it comes out. And it is most commonly seen in girls. There are boys who get it, but the proportion wise, like 10 to 20 degrees, if you see, there are equal girls and boys. 20 to 30 degrees, 5:1. And 30 degrees of curve is like 7 girls and 1 boy maybe. So, but it is so, and it's not known why. So the causes are also, they are hypothetical. So it is not really pinpointed why. So it could be genetic. So you have to keep it in mind that the genetic cause is there and it runs in families. So if somebody in the family does have, you better keep a check on everyone, in all the children in the family. So it could be like a melatonin synthesis issue or a problem in the vestibular system. But here we are not able to treat the cause. So we're not able to treat the cause. So we treat the symptom, that is the misalignment. So what you can say is, see, most just like in the plants you have seen, when they are plants and you correct them, then they grow into a straighter tree, or you correct them when they are smaller, when they are correctable. So it is likely that most of the deformities, the spine deformities, start as a functional curvature and they only become fixed over time. So why we would say that is like, it's a vicious circle. So there's a small deviation in the spine initially, and as you know, the gravity keeps pulling you down. There is asymmetrical loading, and due to which asymmetrical growth happens, and there's a wedging of the vertebrae or in the discs, leading to structural scoliosis. Okay, so once again, there are many contributing factors. Like, see, there are some muscular imbalances, or the proprioceptive feedback that goes. It is once with a deviated spine, the kids find that it is a normal posture for them, and they keep going and sitting into the same posture, how much ever you tell them, because for them that is normal. The eye, the ear, every step that they take, it registers as a normal posture to them. And also you see how the ribs are pushed. So you can see in the top view that the vertebrae is not only moved to the side, is rotated, and the ribs are pushed posteriorly on the side of the convexity, and in the front, anteriorly in the side of concavity. So here again, the ribs are compressed in the region of concavity, and they open in the region of the concavity. So a lot of every breath you take is like promoting it to further get into. It's a vicious cycle. That's what I am trying to say. And what we try to do is break the vicious cycle and for the management of scoliosis. So we built a virtuous cycle. That is by reversing the asymmetrical loading. Instead of them loading in the same way, we give them a brace. We teach them to exercise in a way that the loading is different. So, or the posture they sit, they change it into a conscious posture. So reversing the asymmetric loading, reversing the asymmetrical growth, to reversing the vertebral wedging, or correcting the spinal curvature in turn. So all the professionals who treat scoliosis use their specific tools of their own professions. Like physios, we use exercise, and the orthotists, they use their bracing, and the surgeons to the fusion. Okay, so here is an example of the bracing, where you can see a 3-point correction is done. So over here and over to the thorax, and here a stoppage, and you can see the places left for breathing. So I'll just come to it. So with the exercise also, you can see how the curve is during the exercise, that you can see how the curve is almost corrected. This is not just standing, she's correcting herself coronally, sagittally, and also in the horizontal plane. Okay, so repetitive exercises are done, and you're in the brace and holding yourself in a reverse position to your deformity. So you're also breathing, you're also doing exercises within the brace at times. Here you can see in the exercise how the concavity is opened up with breathing. So there are several components to these exercises. So unlike many years ago, like say now 100 years ago, they had observed that when the children were sent for exercises, they saw that the flexibility improved, and the exercises actually worsened the scoliosis. But over time, it has been realized that it is not stretching on one side and strengthening that is required, but asymmetrical exercises are required for the asymmetrical condition. So stability in one portion, working on mobility in the other portion. So yeah, so let us this is from the website of Scoliosis Research Society. Which is a society of the spine surgeons, where they say, just a moment. Yeah, where they say the physical therapy or yoga, such things have not been proven to prevent curve progression, but they can help strengthen your core and manage the pain. But then the recent evidences have shown, and they have also agreed somewhere in 2014, that the scoliosis specific exercises along with bracing, the physiotherapy scoliosis specific exercises along with bracing can decrease the likelihood of the curve progression to the point of requiring surgical treatment. So this is one website you have to keep in mind to keep yourself updated about the surgery, the Scoliosis Research Society. And coming to SOSOT. SOSOT is it is a conservative, it's a non-profit organization. It's where people have gotten, the conservative management people have gotten together, say in 2004, and formed this organization for early detection, for the best conservative management, and they have formed guidelines. So you can refer to this for the conservative management per se. Okay. And what SOSOT has approved so far are these schools of scoliosis-specific exercises. The Lyon method of France, the Schrott from Germany, there's the Schrott method from Spain, SES from Italy, SideShift from UK, Dobermet from Poland, and Fitz from Poland. So these are evidence-based approaches so far, whereas we may be saying that yoga helps and other methods which do help, but we have to prove them by working on it. Okay, so yeah, what I am trying to say is once again, so when it is tender, and when it is tender like this tree plant, you can correct it much more easily. When a curve is much more bigger, it is much harder to correct, and maybe not possible to correct. So early detection is the key, and this is where lies our role. So major role. So it's every part or every level you have a role, but this is a major role where you can detect early, avoid progression, so they don't end up with surgery. So surgery per se is has good results these days compared to maybe 10 years back, but then definitely they have their own problems that come with. But people say they are good, but there are people who also face problems. So it is nothing like it to preserve your own natural curve that you're born with. So how would you detect scoliosis? Okay, so here you see that when you look at the child from the back, you can see that the shoulders are not level. One shoulder is higher than the other, or one of the scapula, one of the shoulder blade is sticking out. If you see on the, it's very easy, and anyone can detect it if they get used to. So I want you to learn this, and also perhaps share it with others, how to do it with every layman, actually, not just physios. So one shoulder is higher than the other, or in your child, if you happen to see that one of the shoulder blade is sticking out, if you see the distance between the arms here at waist level, you can see that one side it is more and one side it is sticking. So the waist is straight on one side, and one hip is sticking out more. These are all certain signs that there may be some asymmetry. To make it clear, you ask them to bend forward. So when you bend forward, if you find a hump in the upper back or in the lower back, then you are sure that it's somewhere scoliosis. So then they may need to go to a specialist, or yeah. So a trace or the trunk aesthetic clinical evaluation. This is what I go by for mostly when I see the kids. So if they have any of this, just what I described here, this is more descriptive scale here, made by Isico of Italy. So it makes it easier. So if you see the level of the shoulder levels are changed here. they are graded as 1, 2, 3. You can use this as later on to refer whether the child has gotten better or worse. So you can see how the shoulder blade is sticking out here, hemithorax, and the scapula asymmetry, the waist asymmetry. And upon bending, again, it has to exceed 5 degrees of trunk rotation. Then you call it scoliosis. Okay. So once you find out that there is deviation clinically, only then, that is when you see that upon bending forward there is a 5-degree rotation and along with asymmetries. Otherwise, if you find just mild asymmetries and there is no rotation in the spine per se, then you can wait and watch and perhaps teach them some core strengthening exercises and keep an eye. But if you find a little bit of rotation, then you have to get them x-rayed. So the x-ray per se has to be taken always a full spine x-ray, not just a lumbar. If you see a thoracic hump, not just a thoracic. And we don't want to expose to a lot of x-rays. So take one full spine x-ray where you get all the answers. So if normally when there's a lumbar curve, there's a small compensatory thoracic curve or other vice versa. So that, and you get to see whether how the alignment is, and you get to see the central sacral line, and you can see the triradiate cartilage, okay, here in the pelvis. So that is the reason you need a whole spine x-ray with the pelvis. So this indicates that the closure of this indicates of the growth spurt and the risky phase that the child is through. So and also you get to see the Risser sign. These are the important things that you need to know when you're dealing with scoliosis. So the Risser sign, when it is 0 to 2, is a very risky phase. That is the growth spurt age at that time. So at that time, the curves have to be managed really well. And up to 5 is considered as a risky phase, and up to 5 we continue the conservative management. Okay. So here again, the European and the US method of Risser sign will not go into much detail. So yeah, so in the 3 planes we have to see again in the coronal plane. You see that the CSL, there's a slight deviation from the central sacral line, and also in the X-ray you will see a Cobb angle. You will measure it, the Cobb angle. When it comes to the horizontal plane, clinically you will check with the scoliometer and radiology. And there's a disturbance. Somebody's talking. Okay, so on in the horizontal plane, you can see you can measure clinically with the scoliometer and on an X-ray with the Ramonti method to see how much rotation is there, and all this will help you again to see, to check the progression of the curve. Again, in the sagittal plane, you can check the angle of kyphosis on an X-ray and plumb line distances in the in clinical. Okay, so when it comes to Cobb angle, 50 degree is considered the critical threshold. After 50, they say that they have to undergo surgery. This is based on certain researches where they have found that when the curves cross 50 degree at the end of the growth phase, then they have a tendency to grow 1 or 2 degrees every year in the adulthood. So based on that, a decision has been made that when they cross 50, they undergo surgery is better. So our major role lies here in trying to maintain it much lesser than 50, so there is no risk. So there is no risk of them progressing in the adulthood. So we spoke about Cobb degrees, about ATR or the angle of trunk rotation with scoliometer and the trace measure. So we can use all that to check the progression, like change in 5 degrees of Cobb angle means either it has improved or reduced. So angle of 5 degrees, ATR of 3 degrees, all this has to be kept in mind. So yeah, coming to the goals, our goals as a physio. So first thing is to halt the progression of the curve. So the curve's nature is to keep progressing. So our first goal is to halt the progression, stabilize the spine correction in all the three dimensions. So increase the chest mobility. The ribs, they would have in the concave side, the ribs would have come closer. So increase the chest mobility there, or the respiratory function. So we want cosmetic improvement and postural awareness, and decrease in any pain, which is not normal in adolescents, but in elderly, yes. So support in brace, like when they are in brace, what kind of exercises they can do, and etc. So main goal is to avoid progression, and correction is something bonus if we get. Yeah. So the SOSOT has, again, the SOSOT, the Conservative Society, Conservative Management Society, they have set certain guidelines. Like first, when they are very mild, they are kept under observation. Then exercises up to certain degrees, and then you use elastic braces up to certain level. Then the plastic braces, then very hard plastic braces. Or some people use cast, especially I think for the congenital cases for some time, and then finally surgery. So they have also formed something called this. You will get on the SOSOT website from their guidelines. So a practical approach scheme based on the research stage, based on the Cobb degrees. So you have a range of treatment possibilities, like from observation to PSC, means physiotherapy scoliosis exercises, or part-time rigid bracing. So based on the studies, so they have set guidelines like these. So which makes it far easier for us to make decision whether they should go for part-time rigid bracing, full-time rigid bracing, or soft bracing, depending on that. So physiotherapy, coming to physiotherapy scoliosis specific exercises. Yeah, so they are again curve pattern specific exercises. There's 3D correction, and you have to stabilize in the corrected posture, teach them how to carry it into activities of daily living. And yeah, so let us come to different schools of this. So Schroth, or what I studied was from the International Schroth 3D Scoliosis Therapy. It is a original Schroth method and is currently in practice at Katharina Schroth Institute in Germany, from where I studied. And it's about last year they finished 100 years of Katharina Schroth method. So yeah, it's a beautiful setup, 200 bed facility in Germany, especially for treatment of spine disorders, especially scoliosis. Only for spine deformities, conservative management. So a 200 bed setup only for that. So how it, you can see the curve here. So, and how she is adjusting her posture to work on her curve. So these are the different ADLs they are taught, and when they are not in brace, obviously. So in Schroth method, the body is again divided into certain different blocks to teach them the deviations happening in their body, like a shoulder has moved out, or the rib hump has come out, or the lumbar hump, or one prominent hip. and they are given. We make a therapy diagram for them for the different use of different props, the direction in which the forces are used to elongate, to give traction to their arms, to correct their rib hum, to teach them how to breathe, where to breathe, asymmetrical breathing method. And this is how the different exercises are. And ADLs in Shroth, like in sitting, how you can correct, how you can maintain the posture to keep your curve open, or even in an elderly lady here, how she has modified. She's just kept one rice bag or something over under her hip to improve her curve, and in every possible way to how to open up the curve so it doesn't worsen. Okay, coming to Sayers approach, here in Shroth method, you see a lot of props being used for correction. They believe in doing the best possible correction to achieve the best possible correction. And in Sayers method, they try to use the best, most manageable correction without any props, but props are used only for stabilizing, for stabilizing the correction. Okay, this is Sayers method is from Italy. Okay, the Doberman method of Poland again. It was say in 1979 by Professor Dobroshevich, I think. Yeah, correct. So so here they are mostly put in closed kinematic chains and asked to breathe in different patterns. So asked to breathe in their concavities, to open up, to maintaining in kinematic chain, in closed kinematic chain, and various postures are taken according to the curve. The different postures are given for them, and they breathe in these positions. In side shift method, again from UK, they follow a couple of corrections like hitch and hitch shift, and they believe in doing this very repetitively throughout the day, like 1,000 times through the day, perhaps. I mean to say, yeah. And Lyon method is from France. They have a range of, their history is like 200-year-old. The different braces you can see. This is the most recent one. And okay, coming to braces. This is a brace of Italy. It's like you can call it like the bulletproof material, very hard and very rigid. The very rigid braces that we were talking of. And these are the kind of braces, a three-dimensional correction braces. You can see Ricoh-Shino brace or Shino brace. This is a Spinocore or soft brace, which is used in milder curves. Okay, this is a brace done here in Bangalore. And yeah, so this is just to show you how even in an elderly, how much correction is achieved by using the Shroth method. So this is my these are my Professor John de Claude Moret and Axel Hennes of Germany of Shroth method, Tony Betts from the side shift UK method, Michele Romano. These are my teachers. I was lucky enough to learn from them. And the Doberman method, and she was a teacher of yoga, Marcia Monroe, who has scoliosis and practices Iyengar yoga. So has helped her and managed well. So thank you. And yeah, any questions you can ask me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As we all know that Scoliosis Awareness Month is going on. So to raise the awareness among people, we arranged this webinar. I think every doubt about the scoliosis is cleared in the students. Any doubts, students? Any query? Students, you can ask if you have any query regarding scoliosis.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Dr. Anna. I have one query.
Tell.
If any person is start on the primary stage, the curve is going to be disrupted. How we can start correction of that curve? It's just a primary stage.
So it depends again on what level the curve is. So depends on the curve angle, depends on the stage of growth. So if it is research stage 0, it's a little different. If it is research stage 5, that is almost at the end of growth of their bones, then the therapy is different. So that is what yeah.
Is it necessary to wear the braces?
Yeah, that the question, that's what I meant. See, the exercises you can do even when you are at research 0 or research 0 or research 5, depending on the level of the curve. So bracing is necessary during the growth stage, like depending on the curve. So again, it has been determined, say from about 25 degrees, from about 20 degrees, yes.
Shoulder, the patient is having his shoulder level is going to be greater than the other one. The shoulder, I'm sorry, I'm not able to actually properly describe. His shoulder level is going to be high. It's more elevated than the other one.
Yeah, so you have to check the curve angle on the X-ray, and then you have to decide.
Yes, I already told her for examination for the X-ray.
Okay, that is good. That is good. Yeah. So you have to get an X-ray done. You have to check her or his research stage, whether they are at 0 or whether they are at 5. Research stage 0 is a very risky stage, and there's a lot of growth left. Whereas if they are at research 5, then at the end of growth, and if the curve is within 30 degree, you can skip perhaps the brace. So, but if it is research 0 to 2 and the curve is around 30 degrees, then definitely you have to brace. So
yes, ma'am, with the deterioration of this curve, the breathing system or diaphragmatic curve is also affected.
Can you come again?
With the deterioration of this curve, our breathing pattern is also disturbed. We have to work on the breathing system also.
Yes, exactly. And it is a major part of Shroth method to work on the breathing
pattern.
And dopamine. Yeah, both of these schools definitely focus on, yes, because there is a concavity, and you can see that the ribs are crowding in that place. If you see a cross section, you will see how it has impacted the lung. So opening up of the ribs, asymmetric.
Expansion is restricted there, na?
Yeah, so you can do localized breathing there. And you can see how I showed you a picture, if you have seen how localized breathing had improved the concavity. So yeah.
Can you show me? Actually, I joined very late, so that's why.
I will try to show you. One moment. Okay, so one moment. You can see here now.
Yes, ma'am.
how it is opened up. Also, you can see here, I'll show you another method. This was in Schrock method I was showing. I'll show you in another method here. So I told you about the Doberman method, how
Yes,
you can see here now there is a thoracic hump on one side, and
yes,
here the person has started breathing. This is in phases how he's breathing. So he started breathing into the concavity, is opened up, much more opened up, and in the midway you can see how both the sides are level, and then he starts breathing out from his convexity where he has the hump, and you can see how he has breathed out, and the place of concavity is much more opened up.
yes, ma'am.
And
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
yeah, sure. Anything else? Any questions in that? I think there's one more question here. What's your opinion about? Okay, about elongation and distraction. What is your opinion about Thank you, sir, for asking this. What is your opinion about elongation, distraction, or 3D traction equipment for this purpose? So about elongation is a major elongation and distraction is a part of the exercise. We do not use external equipments for this, but internal forces. So you're taught how to elongate and maintain through the exercise. So that is one thing. And do you come across infra-pelvic scoliosis patients where cause can be outside spine? We do come across, and for limb length discrepancy, you definitely have to correct. But whereas people with scoliosis who have in whom it appears that there is a limb length discrepancy, then we don't have to give the raise. Whereas in people with the LLD as the cause, definitely you have to treat that cause first, and then if they have a compensatory scoliosis that has developed, then you work on it. So any more questions, please? Yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, there is
Yeah,
one more question. Yes, ma'am.
I
One more
couldn't.
question from the participant, sir. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, I just saw sir's question. The derotatory exercises, how to choose the direction for rotation. Okay. So yeah, so we must remember that the rotation, we must know the mechanics of how the rotation has happened. So when there is deviation to the left, say for example there's a deviation to the left in the lumbar spine. So if the lateral deviation is to the left, then the vertebra also has moved or rotated towards the vertebral body here. The vertebral body has moved to the left. When I'm talking from, when you see from the back, so vertebral body has moved to the left. So that's why there's a hump on the left side. So our correction will be in the other direction, that is pulling your right hip backwards. So to derotate that particular hump. I hope you got my answer. So normally to the side of deviation, so if the curve has gone to the right, then the vertebral body moves to that side. So, okay.
If anybody has still any query, I think, ma'am, all doubts are cleared.
Okay. Okay.
Now I'm just requesting Shreya for vote of thanks.
I would like to say a word for that. So, yeah.
Good afternoon. Myself, Shreya Patel. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Nutan College of Physiotherapy. I express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Mayura Kudwa ma'am for sharing her valuable knowledge with all of us. I wish to thank our principal sir, Dr. Subhash Khatri, for providing encouragement, support, and guidance. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the participants for listening with patience. Thank you all.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I would like to thank Dr. Subhash Khatri again, who was my teacher when I was at college. So I was lucky enough to learn from him, and every class used to be amazing, interesting, and full of knowledge. And by the time we would leave the class, we would already, kind of know the subject. When you are lucky to have him as your principal. Okay, then. That is
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Goodbye.
Thank you, ma'am.